For most of his life, he moved through the world like a shadow that no one noticed. Not because he wanted to be unseen, but because people had already decided he was. Teachers read his name and forgot it by the next day. Classmates talked over him, threw him around him, as if he were part of the furniture. When teams were picked, his name was called last or not at all, and when he spoke, the room seemed to shrink away from his voice, swallowing his words before they could land anywhere. He learned early that silence hurt less than being ignored, so he became very good at saying nothing. He watched, listened, and stored everything inside, telling himself that maybe one day it would matter. At home, things were not much different. His family loved him in the way people love something familiar but unremarkable. They never asked what he dreamed about or what scared him at night. They praised his siblings loudly and often, celebrating their achievements, retelling their stories to relatives and neighbors. When it came to him, the conversation usually ended with a polite nod or a distracted smile. He was the quiet one, the easy one, the child who didn't cause trouble and therefore didn't require attention. He learned to shrink himself so others could take up more space, and over time he began to believe that this was his role in the world. As he grew older, invisibility followed him everywhere. In school corridors, in crowded buses, in part-time jobs where his hard work went unnoticed while louder, less capable people were promoted ahead of him. He would come home exhausted, not just from the work, but from the constant effort of existing without being seen. There were nights when he lay awake wondering if his life would leave any trace at all, if his absence would feel exactly the same as his presence. He never said these thoughts out loud. Invisible people learn quickly that no one is listening. Still, something inside him refused to die. It wasn't loud or confident or dramatic. It was small and stubborn, like a candle protected by cupped hands in a storm. He didn't know what he wanted to be known for, only that he wanted his life to mean something more than passing through unnoticed. So he began working in silence. While others slept, he read. While others scrolled, he practiced. While others complained about the world, he studied it, trying to understand where he fit and how he could leave a mark without asking permission. Failure became his constant companion. Every attempt to step forward seemed to push him further back. Applications were rejected, ideas were dismissed. People smiled politely and told him to be realistic, to lower his expectations, to accept that not everyone was meant to stand out. Each rejection added weight to the voice in his head that whispered maybe they were right. Maybe he was invisible because he deserved to be. But even then, he kept going, not because he believed in success, but because stopping felt like disappearing completely. There was no dramatic turning point, no sudden miracle that changed everything overnight. What changed him was repetition, day after day of showing up when no one was watching, night after night of choosing effort over comfort. He began to get better, not enough for applause, but enough for progress. He noticed things others missed. He developed a way of thinking that came from years of being overlooked, from standing on the edges and seeing the full picture. In his invisibility, he had learned perspective, patience, and depth, and those quiet skills started to shape something powerful. The first time someone noticed, it almost didn't register. A single comment, a small acknowledgement, someone saying that was actually really good. He replayed those words in his mind for days, afraid they might disappear if he didn't hold on to them tightly enough. That moment didn't make him famous or successful, but it cracked the belief that he would always be unseen. It proved that visibility wasn't impossible, it was just delayed. Momentum built slowly, then unevenly, then all at once. More people began to pay attention, not because he demanded it, but because his work spoke in a way he never could. Those same qualities that made him invisible before, his quietness, his observation, his refusal to quit, became the reasons people listen now. His name started appearing in conversations where it had never been spoken before. At first, he didn't recognize it. He would hear it mentioned and look around, surprised they were talking about him. Recognition felt strange, uncomfortable even. He had spent so long preparing for obscurity that visibility felt like standing under a spotlight without knowing where to put his hands. People asked for his opinion. They wanted his time. They told stories about his journey, often simplifying it, turning years of loneliness into neat motivational sound bites. They called him an overnight success, unaware of the invisible decade that came before the applause. The world that once ignored him now wanted access to him, and that was when he understood something important. Being unseen had not been a curse, it had been training. It had forced him to build substance instead of style, depth instead of noise. It had taught him how to survive without validation, how to keep going without praise. While others depended on attention to fuel them, he had learned to create from emptiness, and that made him dangerous in the best way. Now, when people say his name, they say it with respect. Some say it with admiration, some with envy, but all of them say it knowing it means something. He stands in rooms he was never invited into before, speaks on stages he once watched from the back, and influences lives he will never meet. Yet the most powerful part of his story isn't where he is now, it's where he came from. Because he remembers every moment of being overlooked, every time his voice was ignored, every night he wondered if he mattered. And he uses that memory as a promise to never overlook others. A promise to listen when someone speaks quietly. A promise to create space for those who feel unseen. He knows what it's like to be invisible in a loud world, and he knows how close people are to giving up when no one acknowledges them. His success didn't erase his past, it gave it meaning. There are still moments when the old feeling returns, when he walks into a room and feels like that forgotten kid again. But now he smiles at that version of himself, because he knows the truth. Invisibility did not define him. It refined him. It shaped him into someone strong enough to be seen without being consumed by it. For years, he was invisible. Not because he lacked value, but because the world wasn't ready to notice it yet. And now, when everyone knows his name, it isn't because he chased attention, it's because he earned recognition the hard way, in silence when no one was watching.